I am the Highland Scribe, Cheryl L. Hudson, storyteller. I am about to begin. Are you ready? I am the Highland Scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. Come closer, closer still. You see, the fire's warm, but this tale tonight, this tale runs wild. Welcome to the Wulver of Stenness, a tale of ancient wilds and whispered lores, in the wind-lashed wilds of Orkney, where stone circles watch the lochs, and the old ways linger in the shadows. A girl named Elspeth makes a strange discovery. By the water's edge, an offering of silver fish laid out, with no hand to claim them. But you see, no all gifts are given freely, and nae all watchers wear human faces. This is the Wulver of Stenness, a weekly unfolding of a tale rooted in traveller lore, whispered throughout generations, and carried in the bones of the land itself. Join me each Monday as the story will deepen through dreams and silence, through ancient bargains, and the creatures that keep them. Now, this is chapter 2, The Watcher's Kindness. As she awoke that morning, the smell of fish frying filled the croft, thick and clinging. It was wrapping around each beam like smoke that couldna find the chimney. Elspeth stood at the hearth, hands stiff from scrubbing scales, watching the fillets brown in the pan. The skins began curling, cracking in the heat. Her stomach fair growled, but she didna move. You see, behind her, our father sat at the table. Oh, he was hunched over a mug like it owed him summon. His bitterness had softened now that the scent of food had been to fill the croft for the past few days. Though he still managed to shoot her a sideways glance every so often. Found them washed up, did you? He muttered to himself. She didn't bother answering him. She thought, just let him be. Let him believe what he wants. The truth felt too delicate, sort of like frost underfoot. Easy to shatter. She could still see them, laid neatly as a prayer on moss-covered stone, as if it was just left there just for her. And when the fish were done, she plated them and set one in front of her father, and one for her grandmother, and of course, one for herself. They ate in silence. Only the wet chew of the old woman's gums and the occasional grunt from the man of the house that would break the hush. It wasn't until the dark closed in outside and her father stumbled off to bed, muttering again about tithes and unpaid debts, that her grandmother spoke to her. Her voice cut through the quiet like a crack of firewood. You found them on a stone, did you? Elspeth looked at her, and she froze. Her grandmother repeated, "You found them on the stone, didn't you?" "What stone?" she said, too quickly. Her grandmother raised a thin, worn brow. The one by the loch, flat as a table, moss at the edges. Lass, it's been there longer than the village itself. Marked, so it is. Elspeth said nothing. She didn't need to. The old woman leaned forward, her eyes clouded with age, but bright with something more ancient still. "That's no man that left those fishes," she added. I, I, I never said. You didna need to say. I ken the feel of the Wulver's kindness when it comes. Quiet, clean, and ne'er asking thanks. Elspeth just stared at the hearth, heart flushing, rushing to her cheeks, flushed. "You believe in them then? The tales?" "Aye, I do, lass," her grandmother said without hesitation. "And you'd be wise to believe them too. You see, the Wulver is no curse, no beast of hunger. Wolf of the head, body of a man, lives in the caves and keeps to the edge of things. Gentle, if left be. Gives fish to the hungry and then vanishes before the sun rises." "Why?" Elspeth whispered. "Why would he help me?" Her grandmother's face softened, lines deepening with memory. Maybe he saw something in you. Or maybe he just thought that you needed it. And then she looked at her granddaughter and she added, "But mind this, lass. If he's taken notice of you, be careful. Because he's no cruel, but the world is." Elspeth couldn't sleep that night. The winds whistled around the croft, and thoughts of her father snoring behind the curtain and her grandmother was curled quietly by the hearth. She lay awake, her thoughts turning and turning and churning in her head. At first light, she wrapped herself in her shawl and she crept out into the mist. Back to the loch. Back to that stone. The two fish were there. And something else caught her eye. A small sprig of heather lay neatly beside them. As she picked it up, she noticed it was tightly round with twine, simple but thoughtful nonetheless, and her heart jumped, not in fear, but something stranger, something like wonder. She knelt and cracked and cradled the heather in her hands like it might speak to her, and she placed a crust of bread in its place. A simple gesture, a reply. Then she turned slowly towards the ridge where she had seen him before. No shadow moved. No figure stood there. But she felt him, watching, waiting. She whispered, "Thank you." And for the first time in her life, she felt deep in this hollow of her chest that someone had actually heard her. She went back the next day, and the day after, and the day after, and always just before dawn, when the world was soft and grey, and each time she left something, a trinket, a scrap, a piece of her day, and each time something new was left in return. Once, well, a braid of grass tied with silver thread. Another day, a stone that was shaped like a heart. Its surface had been etched into tiny little circles. Another time, there was a lock of hair, not hers, coarse and pale, knotted in ribbon. But she never saw him. She felt him, nearer now, closer. And in the quiet space between those offerings, something began to grow. Not fear, not exactly. It was the ache of being seen. And on the 14th morning, her grandmother was waiting at the table. "You've kept that up," she said, "and I can feel it on you." Elspeth hesitated. I, I just... "Don't lie to me, girl. You're wound in it now, and that is how it begins. The small gifts, the small gestures, the silences. And then, afore you ken it, you're walking with one foot in this world and one in his." Elspeth just looked and said nothing, but she felt her throat begin to tighten. Her grandmother's eyes were as sharp as flint. "They say to be loved by a Wulver is to be worshipped in silence, cherished forever, never harmed, never touched by pain. But lass, it's a lonely kind of love." Those words landed heavy. "You'll ne'er be able to bring him home," she continued. "You'll never raise children by his side. And he'll never laugh in daylight with you, or sit at the table. Aye, he'll leave you fish and flowers and bits of his world, but only fae the shadows, lassie. He'll give you everything he can, except himself." Elspeth looked away. Her grandmother's voice softened. "Listen, lass. The day that you ask him for more is the day that he vanishes." That morning at the loch, something different waited. A perfect ring of bones, bleached and clean, laid in a circle around a braid of nettle and heather, bound in what shimmered like moonlit thread. It glowed faintly in the mist. A charm, a sign, a question. Elspeth stared at it, her breath catching. She knew without knowing how this was no longer just a kindness. It was now an invitation. Not a demand, but a step over the line into something older, something deeper. She didn't take it. Not yet. She left nothing that day, only stood there a long time, the wind lifting her hair. Then she turned back towards the croft, her hands empty, and her heart was full of storm. And behind her, the reeds whispered, and the loch lay quiet. But she felt him, standing, waiting, watching. When the candles are lit once more, join me next Monday for Chapter 3. I am the Highland Scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. And until the next time, sleep tight, wanderers.